This is Matt from MGMT Boston, and here on this episode of Lantern, I'm with Frank Auger, the COO at OnRamp. Frank, who are you and what are you responsible for here at OnRamp?
Thanks, Matt. I'm glad to be here. I'm Frank Auger. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at OnRamp. I've been with the company for about 2 years. I'm responsible for product engineering, marketing, customer success, and support. Essentially, my job is to drive scalability into the organization to make sure that we not only grow bigger, but that we get better as we get bigger, which is my favorite definition of scalability.
Absolutely. And you joined OnRamp very early. What convinced you this was the right problem and the right team, to help solve?
So I became aware of OnRamp when the founders, Paul and Ross, were in the very earliest stages, and I was working at a different company, and they tried to sell me as an early adopter of OnRamp. And I really wanted to purchase the product, but at the time it didn't work out for a variety of reasons. But what I like about what OnRamp is doing, and a big reason why I joined, is because it's purpose-built for onboarding. There are a lot of products in the market that are selling to the onboarding use case, but they're repurposed project management tools or other horizontal solutions that have just been applied to the onboarding use case. OnRamp is different. OnRamp is purpose-built for onboarding, and as a career CS person, it's a problem I care about and have a lot of passion for. So it's exciting to me to work for a company that puts onboarding front and center in its mission.
Yeah, and as a former customer success leader, and now dealing with so many customer success teams across, enterprises of all shapes and sizes, where do you see teams wasting the most time and where are they most challenged in post-sales today?
I think the challenge for CS for some time now has been how to do more with less. Call it efficiency, call it scalability, call it digital CS, call it whatever you want. CS teams are under pressure to deliver more for less. This has been true for a while as CEOs and CFOs have started to scrutinize every dollar of investment to make sure they're getting measurable ROI. So I think that's the biggest challenge that these CS leaders are having. At a more fundamental level, all of us in CS are struggling with the fact that traditional CS processes and the systems that support them are becoming obsolete. All the CS best practices came about at a time when growth at all costs was the name of the game and scalability was something you worried about later. That hasn't been the case for several years now, and in order for CS to evolve, we need to be willing to give up on some of the things that we once thought to be sacred. Do onboarding, customer lifecycle management, support, renewals, expansion, do all those things need to be specialized teams with all the associated costs? Or are there really only two roles required, a product expert and an account manager, both supported by AI and other modern technologies that will enable a much smaller team to operate much more scalably, to produce orders of magnitude more results, all while still maintaining a world-class customer experience? I think that's the challenge for CS these days.
Totally. And speaking of world-class, you have worked at one of the most world-class organizations as it relates to Boston in HubSpot. What did you learn at HubSpot that directly shaped how you think about the customer experience at OnRamp and for enterprises anywhere today?
I think the number one thing that I learned in my 10 years in leadership at HubSpot was that no matter how well something is working, nothing lasts forever. You have to be ready to deal with change as a constant. And when you really hit your stride, you start to proactively seek out opportunities for change and not wait for things to happen in the market, in your customer base, and then have change be a reaction. When change becomes a way of life, synonymous with growth, that's when things really happen. And above all else, that's what I really learned at HubSpot was question the status quo constantly.
Yeah. And last, to our customer success and revenue leaders watching this, what would you recommend they be rethinking, as we enter this new AI era?
Rethink handoffs, rethink organizational structures that are optimized around your company's workload and not around the customer's experience. In fact, rethink anything that isn't optimizing for the customer experience. A lot of the things that we do in CS, we do them that way because we've always done them that way. And they evolved out of what was the easiest way to implement them in high growth environments without regard to cost. Well, you can't do anything today without regard to cost and scalability. And customers always raise the bar. Every year, customer expectations on what their experience is going to be like working with your company goes up. And the one thing that you don't want to do is hand your customer off from person to person more than necessary. The more you can provide them a seamless experience by utilizing AI and other technologies, the better off you'll be.
Yeah, those are great insights. This is Frank Auger, the COO at OnRamp, Matt from MGMT Boston, this episode of Lantern. Thanks, Frank, so much for joining us.